From natural ecosystems to human activities, all rely on the same essential resource, water. Yet it faces unprecedented threats. While freshwater accounts for only 2.5% of water resources on Earth, its global demand has surged by over 55%. Meanwhile, this vital resource is becoming increasingly scarce in many regions due to climate change, but also pressures by human activities, deteriorating quality, and overexploitation of resources. The intensifying effects of climate change are also leading to increased instances of floods and droughts. The UN member states have adopted 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The goal number 6 is specific to water protection. Water4All is a Horizon Europe program, the Europe Framework Program for Research, with a strong international dimension, launched in 2022 to develop evidence-based answers to the water challenges, targeting 4 main objectives: access to water sanitation, resilience to global changes, preserved and restored ecosystems, and water for economic uses. With almost 90 partners from 33 countries, from Europe and beyond, this partnership supports research and innovation projects through the launch and funding of annual Joint Transnational Calls, while ensuring that these projects address both research gaps and the needs of end users. For instance, the first Joint Transnational Call in 2022, focusing on hydroclimatic extreme events and water management tools, successfully initiated and funded 27 research projects involving 3 or more different countries. Thanks to funding from Water4All partners and the EU, it also supports additional activities, such as water-oriented living labs, a European incubator to support early-stage startups and spin-offs, a group to enable the integration of scientific results in policymaking, and international cooperation to strengthen collaboration between researchers and students across the world and to support water diplomacy. Water4All's ambition is to support numerous projects that will undoubtedly enhance water conservation and management, securing a sustainable future for our most precious resource.
So, ladies and gentlemen, again, good afternoon. We are very pleased to welcome you today to this international webinar regarding the Water4All Joint Transnational Call 2024 with the topic Water for Circular Economy. Today, my colleague Anne Petzold and myself, we are from the Project Management Agency Karlsruhe, and we are acting as call secretariat for this Water4All call. And together with us today are our colleagues from the Spanish State Research Agency, Maya Collant and Miguel Angel Guiranz, who are the pillar leader in the Water4All partnership. Before we really start, I want to give you some rather technical information. The webinar will be recorded and will then be in a few days available on the Water4All website. Audio is available for us as speakers only. So for questions, we kindly ask you to use the chat function in WebEx. The chat function is normally available on the bottom right of your WebEx screen. And after our presentations, we will have, of course, a question and answer session, and we will also compile an FAQ document where we try to summarize your questions and, of course, also the answers. And we will also make that available on the Water4All website. So let's have a quick look at the agenda for today's webinar. First, we will have a presentation given by Maya Kola about the Water4All partnership in general and the functioning of Joint Transnational Call within this partnership. The presentation will then be followed by Miguel Angel Girans about the call topics and the expectations towards the applicants. And then afterwards, I will give you some more details about the call process, the modalities, and the eligibility rules. And then afterwards, as I already mentioned, we will have a question and answer session. So to start, I give the floor to you, Maya.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me well.
You can.
You can move to the next slide, please. So I will say a few words about the instrument of the Water4All partnership, because this is the instrument under which this call, this Joint Transnational Call, is being funded. So just to give you a little bit of information about the instrument that is funding this call. So we are the Water4All partnership. We are co-funded by the European Commission under the Horizon Europe Framework Program. And the partnership started its activities in June 22. So this is the third joint call that we are launching. So many of you are already familiar with the partnership and with the calls. So we launch calls in September each year. But apart from these annual joint transnational calls, the partnership, of course, is much more broad than this. And we have in our work plan a variety of actions that we implement with currently 90 partners. So you can see the scheme of the partners composition here. So apart from the research ministries and funding agencies, we are 35 at the moment, which are involved in this particular action of funding the research projects through the Joint Transnational Calls. We also have other partners involved. There are sectoral ministries and agencies. We also have research performing organizations, but their activities and their involvement is strictly separate from this particular one. Then we have EU networks, we have local authorities, we have national and regional networks. So there is a variety of partners involved, and the activities, as you will see in the next slides, are quite broad. We have 33 countries, out of which 23 are the EU member states, and we also have 10 non-EU countries involved. If you go to the next slide, please. So here you can see a scheme that shows the link between our activities or actions that are organized into work packages or pillars, as we call them, and the objectives of the Water4All partnership. So we have work packages that are centered on developing the joint vision and the strategic research agenda of the partnership. And then we have of course, the research and innovation development. So basically the Joint Transnational Calls. We have activities on science policy and users interface. We have activities on demonstration and also internationalization. And with these main objectives of delivering knowledge and tools and evidence bases for developing of water policies and to support the decision making, to improve consideration of water impacts in all the relevant policies, to enhance the market use of innovative solutions, and of course to increase the citizens' awareness and engagement for an inclusive water management. If you could go to the next slide, please. This is quite important. This activity that we have is to develop the strategic research and innovation agenda This is the main document, the key document of the partnership, and it supports all the activities that we do. Among them, of course, also the joint transnational calls. The document is published on our website. You also have the link here, and it will be available in the presentation when it's uploaded on our website. And as you can see, we have in the SRIA, as we call it, or Strategic Research Innovation Agenda, we have 7 core research and innovation themes, which are then subdivided into 25 sub-themes. And these themes identify the research gaps and policy needs. So we center all our activities around the SRIA, around the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. And for this call in particular, you can see that the call is broadly based on the theme 1 of the SRIA, which is Water for Circular Economy, Smart Water Value. So the call is more, the text of the call is more specific, but the broader context is based on the theme 1 of the innovation and research and innovation agenda. And I highly recommend you to have a look at this document. The document is always developed after a large consultation process. So we involved all the stakeholders. It's quite a long and complex process, and we're planning the next revision in 2025. But for this call, we still have our 2022-25 agenda in place, and it's available on the website. You could move to the next slide, please. And just to give you an idea of the other activities that we do apart from the, of course, the joint call. So we have a work package or a pillar which is focused on developing the research agenda and on the joint vision of the partnership. We call this the pillar A, which is in the center, and all the other activities are centered around this. So as I mentioned before, we have another work package. It's called the pillar B, where we develop our transnational joint calls. Which this third call is one of them, and other joint actions where we also involve the research community, such as young researchers calls. We will have in the future, we plan a demonstration call, a transfer call, and so on. So I would advise you really to follow the information on the website, and of course you can always get in touch with us. So there is more than the joint transnational calls, which are these calls that are published in September each year. Then we have activities on the science policy and user interface. So again, this includes, for example, the knowledge hubs, policy working groups, some vocational training, capacity building, and so on. So we involved in this work package, we already involved a broader range of partners, not just the funding organizations that are involved in the work package on the joint calls, for example. And then we also have the activities on the demonstration, where we work with water living labs, and the activities on internationalization, where we develop the international cooperation agreements, engaging with international stakeholders. We try to attract new partners and so on. So this is just to give you an idea how this instrument, which is quite large, how it works and what it encompasses. If you could go to the next slide, please. And now I would just like to show you one slide of how a joint transnational call works in general terms, and then we will hear more from Anne and Simon about the specifics of this call. So basically, we have funding organizations, so funding agencies from different countries that are partners in the partnership, and these funding organizations participate in the joint call with their national funds. They're pulling together their national funds to fund the research projects, together with the co-financing from the European Commission. So I think the total available budget of this call is around 30 million euro. I'm not completely sure. Anne and Simon will say more about this, something like that. So it's quite a large available budget. And what we do is that we organize one single joint call with one single joint evaluation, which is the international evaluation. So this means that there is no national evaluation involved. There is a national eligibility check, so that part, yes, but the funding and the ranking of the proposals is done on the international level with an international panel of independent experts who evaluate the proposals and they rank them. And then the funding decision is done by the funding organizations, but they need to follow the ranking. So they need to follow the order. So there is no, let's say, cherry picking and jumping in the ranking. So the top projects are funded until the funds are exhausted. And this more or less sums it up, and we will hear more about the details of the call procedure and the evaluation and so on later on in the webinar. So that would be all from me. Thank you very much. And I think Miguel will take over from here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maya. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Miguel Gilarran from the State Research Agency of Spain and also Vice Chair of the Water4All Partnership. And in this part of the webinar, I will present the theme and topics of the call. Can we go to the next slide, please? Next, please. Okay, as you well know, the general theme for the call is water for circular economy. We have selected this theme for the call from the priority themes identified in the strategic agenda of Water4All, as my colleague Maya explained before. And for this call, we have defined several objectives. The partnership wants to contribute to foster the development of new circular feedstocks and also new value chains, to increase water resource efficiency, improve water allocation, and optimize water use. And with these changes, we also want to contribute to lower resource interdependencies and fewer bottlenecks in the supply of scarce resources, including, of course, water. And this also should contribute to the resolution of conflicts related to water and to the fair distribution of water. Our view is that these objectives cannot be achieved only with technical solutions, so we also need new strategies. For instance, we need to go further from trade-offs strategies, and we need to foster the participation and empowerment of users. And finally, the call should help us to identify and overcome barriers that we have for the deployment of the solutions developed and also to the creation of impacts. Next slide, please. Well, going to the specific topics, water for circular economy is a very broad theme in our agenda. And for the purpose of the call, we have extracted 4 topics that the proposals will need to address. This is topic 1. The first one is about enhancement of water circularity in industries. You will see that all the topics include subtopics. The topics are just a title, and the way they need to be considered in the proposals is described in the subtopics. In this case, water circularity in industries. In the first subtopic, we describe the need for innovative paradigms and methodologies for making a transition in industrial sectors toward models where the production can be decoupled from the water demand, and this can be also compatible with other methodologies, such those leading to zero liquid discharge and resource recovery. In subtopic number 2, we consider water consumption minimization, wastewater treatment for reuse, and the sustainable use of resources. We know that these fields are fields where a lot has been done, But for this call, we expect innovative new approaches and also consider the integration of stakeholders within the industrial sectors and also the linkage with the urban schemes. And we have a third subtopic dealing with innovative monitoring procedures for process control and the development of operating concepts and metrics that we can use to assess the efficiency of the management of the water cycle. And also the compliance with regulation and the standards, economic evaluation, and risk assessment. Next, thank you. We have a second topic, which is about urban water circularity. Here we have a first subtopic on the enhancement of the water cycle management to reduce reliance on conventional and less sustainable supplies, and also to increase efficiency and circularity. There is a second subtopic on the integration of decentralized and centralized treatment systems and the contribution of nature-based solutions for enhancing the existing systems, and the integration with industrial sectors and the role that rainwater and runoff can have in the urban circular schemes. And finally, a third subtopic on monitoring and control methodologies and risk assessment. As you know, I'm going to the more important details about this, the description of this subtopic. You have the full length of the subtopics in the call text announcement. Next slide, please. Okay, the third one is about resource recovery and valorization. The topic considers the recovery of a wide variety of resources, including nutrients, metals, critical raw materials, high-value products, and also energy. This recovery can be made from different components and flows in the water cycle, and this includes wastewater, sludges, brines, and reservoir sediments. And the proposals can also consider new approaches to resource recovery that are integrated in the management of the water cycle. Therefore, we expect also to explore the synergies between the resource recovery and the water reuse. And this can be applied both to the industrial and the urban context. And finally, we have a third subtopic on the applicability of the recovered materials, including the emerging standards and the regulation for these materials, the business models, and the life cycle assessment. Next, please. And we have a fourth topic that is devoted to environmental, economic, and societal implications of water reuse and recovered products. In the description of the objectives of the call, I already indicated that the proposals can consider these aspects in addition with technical solutions. But with this topic, we want to emphasize that we can have proposals where these aspects, economic, environmental, and societal, can be the main focus of the proposals. And there are a variety of aspects that can be considered. You can have them in the subtopics description. We have a first subtopic on assessing the implication of circular schemes on water environment and the mitigation of negative impact. This involves a better understanding on how the components are coupled, also the relationship to the nexus, and the development of indicators for circularity and sustainability. There is also a subtopic on the identification of new management strategies, policy options, steering mechanisms, and governance systems that can facilitate the integration of circularity and its methodologies. Finally, we have some comments on the topics of the call, some notes that we would like to add. These are selected ones. You have the long list in the call text announcement. All the proposals must address clearly at least one topic of the call, using as a reference how the topic is described at subtopic level in the call text. The proposals don't need to address all the subtopic within a topic, but you can have comprehensive and integrated proposals when you deal with different subtopics, even from different topics. Let's say you can combine two subtopics, one of them from topic 1 and another one from topic 3, for instance. And in any case, when you submit your proposal, you will need to identify the main topic under which your proposal is classified. The evaluation will be mostly based on this. The topics are described in a very short way in the call text. I encourage the applicants to consult the strategic agenda of Water4All, because there you will find the complete framework on how these topics about circular economy are considered in Water4All. In addition to this, the agenda has two themes, governance and international cooperation, that are considered as cross-cutting. So when possible, I encourage also to consult these topics and see if they can be integrated also in the view of your proposal. This may be interesting, especially in the case of topic 4 of the call. Another important note, some uses of water are not considered eligible for the call. To be more precise, the use of water for hydropower generation, for cooling, and for crop agriculture are topics that are not eligible under topics 1, 2, and 3. This means, for instance, that we cannot fund proposals dealing with the reuse of water for crop irrigation or about irrigation technologies, or we cannot fund studies on productivity of crops that use recovered nutrients. These uses of water can only be included in proposals under topic 4, where the economic, environmental, and societal implications are assessed. Here it makes more sense because you may need here more comprehensive proposals where you have an overall view of all the uses of water. Another restriction, we can fund proposals dealing as a main focus with health aspects related to epidemiology or about the fate of contaminants in the environment and, for instance, in the food chain. And just a last note, you may be aware that there is a call now in DUT partnership, the partnership about driving urban transitions, and there is a topic on water circularity in the urban context. The duplication of funding for the same proposal in both calls, Water4All and DUT, should be avoided, and the applicants will need to decide to what call the proposal adapts better. And finally, I would like to make some comments about the expectations that the partnership has for the proposals. Of course, as a primary expectation, we expect the proposals to address topics of the call and to be aligned with the objectives and impacts that we have expressed for the calls. And it is a responsibility of the applicant to submit proposals that are clearly framed in these calls, and for that you have the description of the subtopics. Another point is that excellence is important. The proposals may produce either knowledge, tools, methodologies, or a combination of them, but in all cases, this should be a state of the art. The proposals also need to demonstrate how knowledge is transferred or how the impact is achieved. We welcome multi and interdisciplinary proposal because it's a good way to tackle problems in a field such as the field of water, which is very complex. Another important point is that the proposals cannot duplicate previous projects or show little progress if they are based in former projects. For those proposals that are based in former projects, the progress must be substantial and must be verifiable. An additional remark about the impact. We have a section about impact in the call text. We expect the creation of impact pathways in the proposals, and we have given some clues on how to achieve it. For instance, to involve the stakeholders in the definition of the proposal from the beginning, and also to build the proposals based on problems and outcomes that really affect the stakeholders. And we also suggest for better monitoring the inclusion of a mechanism for the verification of the impacts. Well, you can find more information about our expectations for the call in the call's announcement. And just a final remark on the evaluation, which in some way is related to the expectations that we have for the proposals. Again, in the call announcements, you can find some evaluation criteria that will be used by the evaluators. The evaluators will use the description of the subtopics and this list of evaluation criteria for evaluating your proposals. So make sure that when you submit your proposals, you ask yourself those questions that you have as an example in the screen and that you can find in the call text, so that you are sure that we are receiving a proposal covering the expectations that we have and that you will be in a good position in the evaluation procedure. Well, and that's all from my side. I give the floor to my colleague, Simon.
Yeah, thank you, Miguel, for presenting the call topics and evaluation criteria. As Miguel already mentioned, please have a look at the call text. All these information can also be found in the call text, especially also here, the evaluation criteria, for example. So on the next slides, I will try to give you some information about the call process, the modalities, and so on. First, starting with the early career researcher modality. When creating the proposal, the coordinator of the consortium can choose between the, let's say, regular joint transnational call and the early career researcher modality. A coordinator has the possibility to apply under the ECR modality if he or she obtained the PhD less than 10 years prior to the call launch. That means 2014, if my math is correct. And if the relevant funding organization is supporting this modality. And for this, I recommend to check the national regulations that's given there. The consortium coordinator who meets the ECR criteria can decide if he or she wishes to participate in the normal JTC or in the ECR modality. In the submission tool, you have to click a checkbox. A participation in both modalities is, of course, incompatible. So a few more information about this modality. Only the coordinator needs to comply with this criteria. The principal investigators of the other partners or other team members do not need to comply with the ECR modality. Second point here, the FPO funding the coordinator must participate in the ECR modality. And this information is given in the national regulations. And the FPOs funding the partners in the ECR consortium do not have to participate in the ECR modality unless the national rules state otherwise. So only the FPO responsible for the coordinator. The commonalities with the, let's say, normal joint transnational call, all other general eligibility criteria are the same. For example, consortium composition and so on. The topics are the same, the proposal structure is the same, and the evaluation and ranking of the proposals and the evaluation criteria are, of course, also the same. So we will have at the end a unique ranking list of all proposals. However, now the difference in their final funding decisions, in case if we have an equal ranking of proposals, the FPOs will prioritize the projects that are submitted under the ECR modality whenever possible. So on my next slides, a few more general information about the call process and the eligibility rules. For example, the participating countries and the rules for participation. At the moment, we have 35 funding organizations that are participating from 30 countries. And as Maya already mentioned, we have national commitments, including the co-funding from the European Commission of about 33 million euros. So the applicants that want to apply for this call have to meet, of course, the general international eligibility criteria that can be also found in the call text, and the applicants have to respect the national eligibility criteria that are defined by the national FPOs in the national regulations, which can, of course, already be found on the call website. And in these national regulations, the FPOs may have defined a few things. For example, the maximum allowed budget per partner or per project, the possibility to participate or to not participate in the ECR modality, the call topics that are funded, and some other national criteria. So here on this slide or in this table, you can find the participating countries and the participating funding organizations and the respective national commitments. The same table can also be found in the call text. One remark here that is given in red in the first version of the call text, Romania was listed as country participating in the call, but they said that they cannot participate in this call. So Romanian partners can only join the consortium as self-funded partners, so they will not receive any funding from the National Funding Agency. So on this slide, some remarks about the consortium composition. Projects need to have at least 3 eligible partners and a maximum number of 7 eligible partners. A self-funded partner cannot coordinate a project, and the partners have to come from at least 3 different countries. On the next slide, I will show you 2 examples of an eligible consortium and of a not eligible consortium. In addition, here, part of the eligible partners, at least 2 must be from different EU member states or Horizon Europe associated countries. The list of these countries can be found here on this link. And other countries that are participating are, for example, Brazil and also Switzerland. So coming to 2 examples of an eligible and a not eligible consortium. First example is organizations, for example, from Spain, Italy, and Brazil. This consortium would be eligible because we have 2 different EU member states, in this case, Spain and Italy. And the third country is Brazil, which is also participating in the call. Then an example of a not eligible consortium is, for example, a consortium consisting of partners from France, Spain, and Cyprus. So we would have at least 3 partners, France and Spain as EU countries and participating countries, but Cyprus is not participating in the call, so this consortium would not be eligible. So some other general eligibility rules regarding the consortium coordinator. A coordinator can only participate in 1 proposal of this call. That means, of course, he cannot participate in any other proposal, neither as coordinator nor as a partner PI of a partner. The consortium coordinator must be, of course, eligible for funding by the respective national FPO of this call. Regarding the partners, the applicants can participate in several proposals as long as this is in line with their national funding organization's eligibility rules. Proposal language is, of course, English. The project duration is 3 years. And 2 information regarding the workload distribution. No partner shall have more than 50% of the person months. And partners from the same country shall not have altogether more than 50% of the person months. Then regarding self-funded partners and eligibility of international research institutions. Institutions from countries not participating in the call may join consortia as partners, not as a coordinator. Maximum 1 self-funded partner per consortium is allowed. Self-funded partners have to prove their willingness to self-fund their own activities or the willingness of other partners to fund their activities by sending a letter of commitment together with the full proposal. The participation, of course, will then be at the institution's own expense. And international institutions need to investigate their respective national eligibility rules or guidelines if they are eligible to participate as funded partners, and make sure that they are able to fulfill the duties of the funded projects, for example, if they can sign consortium agreements and so on. Regarding, for example, the Joint Research Center can participate in a proposal as a self-funded partner. Yeah, on the slide, few further information, but some of them already mentioned. Each national and regional funding organization funds its own national regional team. The applicants must comply with their funding organization's eligibility criteria and rules. Therefore, again, please check the national regulations. And applicants are, of course, then strongly advised to approach their respective funding organization contact points to make sure they respect all the eligibility criteria and rules. And the national contact points are also given in this national guidelines that are available on the Water4All website. So now coming to another point, the changes that are allowed between a pre-proposal and a full proposal, or changes that are not allowed. The most important message is that the information given in the pre-proposal is binding. So no major changes regarding the proposal's content will be allowed. Regarding the administrative details, a limited number of changes may be allowed, provided that they are in line with the general rules of the call and the rules of the national funding partner organizations. So if changes might occur, it's always good to contact the call secretariat and also the national contact points and ask and inform them about these changes. These limited number of changes are, for example, a minor change of budget, if allowed by the relevant national funding organization. What is not allowed is, for example, the change of the coordinator, of course, except in case of force majeure. And a request of change of coordinator must be submitted to us, to the call secretariat, at least 1 week before the deadline for submitting the full proposal, and will then be discussed within the call steering committee on a case-by-case basis. Other examples of changes that are allowed in the consortium composition, for example, maximum 2 changes of project partners in proposals that have more than 5 partners, and maximum 1 change of project partners in proposals with 5 or less partners, provided that we or the applicants have the approval of the national funding organization. What is considered as a change, for example, is already mentioned, the addition, removal, or replacement of a partner, including, as written here, subcontracted and self-financed partners. Please note that the maximum number of changes applies to partner. That means the legal entity participating in the project. In terms of procedure, the eligibility of new partners must be confirmed before the full proposal submission deadline, and changes must be asked first, as already mentioned, to the national funding partners, to the national contact points, who needs to check the eligibility and then agree or not agree with the change of the partner. Then coming to the next point, the submission procedure. It consists of, let's say, it's a 2-step procedure. It's mandatory to submit a pre-proposal through the electronics platform submission system. The link to the submission tool can also be found on the call website. Then an eligibility check by the call secretariat and the national funding organizations will be done. And we will have an evaluation, a scientific evaluation by an independent evaluation panel regarding the 2 points, excellence and impact. And we have a scoring system, 0 points to 5 points. And the minimal threshold is 3 out of 5 in each criterion. Then applicants that are invited to submit a full proposal have to do this again via the electronic submission system. Then an eligibility check will again be done by the call secretariat and the national funding organizations. And then we will have an independent evaluation, scientific evaluation of the 3 criterion: excellence, impact, and implementation. And the threshold, the final score is then 10 out of 15. So 15 is the best if you have 5 points in each criterion, and 10 out of 15 is the threshold. Then we will have a selection of the best proposals, the best projects, and then we might have some negotiations necessary on a national level, and then contract agreement, consortium agreement, and so on. Then coming to the timeline, yeah, as you may have seen, the call opened at 12th of September, so about 2 weeks ago. The submission deadline of the pre-proposals is the 13th November. The selection of the pre-proposals will be around end of February 2025. And then the applicants will be invited to submit full proposals. The deadline for submission of the full proposals is the 29th April 2025. Then we will have the selection process, and then hopefully a project start end 2025 or more realistic beginning of 2026, and then kickoff meeting also in the spring 2026. And an advice here, which is given on the top right: do not wait until the last minute to submit your proposal. Yeah, coming to the resources that are available online, you have to go to the Water4All website, to the Joint Calls, Open Calls section, and then you will have a few fields. And I think that the most important one for you will be the call documents to download. You will find here the call announcement, the national regulations, submission tool guidelines, and so on. As already mentioned, you will also find the link to the online submission tool there. You will find the link to the partnering tool. And as we already mentioned, for example, this webinar today and also the FAQ document will then also be available there. So here, as marked in red, important, please check the website regularly, as there may be or might be some updates to these documents, especially the call announcement and the national regulations. So my last 2 slides, we have a partnering tool available where you can search for project partners. It can be accessed with the following link. I think that we already have over 60, around 65 entries. Yeah, you can enter your expertise and then have a look and check if there are other partners that have similar expertise or that complement your expertise for a good consortium. And my last slide is the link to the submission platform. We are using a PT Outline, can be accessed via this link that is given here. And here, as the screenshot shows, we have a few fields that have to be filled out. That are some general information, that are information to the project coordinator, to the project partners. Then, of course, the project description. We have the do no significant harm assessment, the ethics self-assessment, which has to be filled out or also check boxes. And then, yeah, final check and submission, the way you can submit your proposals. So I think that's all from my side. So we are coming now to your questions. For this, maybe Maya, you can take over again because you followed the chat, I guess. My colleague Anne did also.
Yes, I followed the chat a little bit. I'm sorry we had some technical issues in the beginning, it seems, because it was not possible to write the questions before, but now this function is fully operational. So I will go through the questions, and I will try to perhaps summarize those that are repeating themselves, and Simon and Anne, you can then answer. So we will just start at the top. So the first question, what is considered a minor change to the budget? And also in the same line, if there is a limit, a total limit per proposal, so not just per partner, but also for the overall proposal, and also on the limit on the number of partners. So maybe Simon, if you could answer that. So minor change in the budget, what is considered that? The total limit per proposal and the limit in the number of partners.
Well,
So start. Okay, Anne will take over.
I'm sorry. At first, there's no limitation of budget for the whole proposal, but on national level, you can have limitations. So some funding agencies have restrictions regarding the maximum amount which can be requested for funding. So for the whole consortium, there is no limitation. So you can ask for 10 million or for 1 million, that's equal for us, but on national level you have some restrictions. Minor changes are small changes in the budget, for example, adjustments in the consumables or adjustments in travel costs and something like this, but you can't double your budget. And you should always contact your national funding agency, so your national contact point, because it depends what is a minor change for each funding agency. So please contact your funding agency in cases of changes, because they could say if they can tolerate the changes or not. So that's the advice.
And with regard, maybe I can just add here, Anne, that as you said, there is no prescribed percentage or figure, but usually just in general terms, what we consider is something below 10%. But as Anne said, it's really important that you contact your funding organizations, because sometimes it will be after the eligibility check, it will be actually the funding organization that will tell you that you need to adjust slightly your budget, and sometimes the proposal will come on your side, but in each case you should be in contact. And the comment about the limitation of the number of partners?
Yes, so we have the limit of the partners. I'm sorry, I had a budget limitation. Yeah, a limit of partners is you have to have at least 3 partners. Simon, maybe we can go back to the slide with the consortium composition. So you need at least 3 eligible partners, so partners who are involved or who have funders within the call, and with at least 3 different countries. So it's not possible to have partners from Germany and Spain, because you have just 2 countries. So you need, for example, a partner from Germany, Spain, and Italy. So you have 3 different countries. You have at least 3 eligible partners, and the maximum is 7 eligible partners. So it's not allowed to have a consortium with 8 partners or 9 partners.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question is about the participation of Portugal. So what can you say about this?
That's a really good question. So to be honest, we have not the documents yet. So we are waiting for the commitment of Portugal if they join the call or not. So at the moment we have no update regarding the participation of Portugal. We hope that we will receive the information in the few days, but at the moment we have no answer at this question. But if we have an update, we will update the website and the documents and the same day and within few seconds or minutes. So if we have the information, we'll be fast.
Yeah. Thank you. So the next question is an example of a consortium composition, and I will ask you this one. I will not then repeat all the question about particular consortium composition, but this one I think it's interesting because they ask about the composition of partners in a consortium which consists of the UK, Italy, and Brazil. So there were some changes with respect to the UK with respect to last year. So maybe you can just comment this one. And
there we have the perfect slide on the screen. Yes, this is possible because in addition to the last year, UK is an associated country. So yes, you can have a consortium with Italy, UK, and Brazil because Brazil counts to the other countries in Water4All, and UK and Italy follow in the list of participating countries in Horizon Europe. So yeah, that's possible. What is not possible to have a consortium with Brazil, Switzerland, and UK because you need at least 2 different EU member states or associated countries, and Brazil and Switzerland don't count to this. So yes, this is possible.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you very much. What is DUT, Driving Urban Transition Partnership?
This is it's a Driving Urban Transition Partnership. It's also a co-funded partnership within Horizon Europe. I put the link of the DOT partnership into the chat so that you can have the link to the call and to the whole website.
Okay. Thank
Just
you
to
very
follow
much.
up on this, sorry, Maya, to interrupt you.
Sure.
On the call text, on the title page of the call text, there is also a disclaimer with the advice to check both Water4All call and the DOT call, and the links are also in this document.
Thank you very much. There's also a disclaimer because we launched the calls at the same time as Miguel said before, and there are some synergies. So be careful that you don't submit the same proposal to both partnerships. Okay, moving on. There were some questions about the participation of a certain type of partners. So can a large profit organization coordinate the proposal? Are private companies eligible? Can non-profit and civil society organization participate and be eligible? So if you could say something about this.
It depends on the national funding or on the national regulations. So we have funders who are not able to fund large profit organization, I think, and some funders are able to fund. So it depends on the national regulation. So in this case, read the national regulations, and then you can will find out if the national or the funder is able to answer your request. So if you can ask for budget as a company, and of course, in case a company can request for funds, they can also be a coordinator. So that's for us, it's not a problem, but please check the national regulation or contact your NCP.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anne. Moving on to the early career researchers modality. They're asking if we could confirm that to be eligible for the early career researchers modality, the PhD must have been obtained after the 12th of September 2014. So moving 10 years back from the date of the launch of the call. So yes.
Yeah. That's
yes.
correct.
That's correct. Thanks. I would just like to add here that in case there are certain exceptions, such as maternity leaves and things like that, you should contact your funding organization, your national funding organization to that is supporting this modality, to get the information if these, for example, the maternity leave, because this was often the question if it's this time is considered an exemption. So I think in most cases it is, but you should confirm this with your national funding organization. But as a general rule, as Anne said, so the 10 years from the launch of the call is let's say the limit. And I would just perhaps add here that at the general level of the call secretariat does not ask you to provide any paper of any justification, but your national funding organization will check this. So they will tell you if they need some supporting documents or how they will check this eligibility. So get in touch with your national funding contact. Then also another question related to the early career researchers, if they need a permanent position to be eligible.
That's not the case in general, but of course the national regulations could set that this is a requirement, but normally or in general it's not necessary. But please check the national regulations and contact your NCP in this case.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. Does the consortium need to include both academic partners, such as universities and research centers, and industrial partners? So is this a requirement? And is there a minimum level of involvement from the industrial partners?
No, that's not a requirement. So you can have a consortium only with academic partners. So it's the same question. So some funders are not able to fund companies. So that's, of course, you can have a consortium with both, with industrial partners and academic partners, but it's not a requirement to have both parts of scientists.
Yeah. Okay. Now, there were a couple of questions about the potential advantages in the evaluation. So the first one was if there is any advantage in the evaluation if more than one topic is addressed. And the other one, a little bit different, but still, how is this considered in the evaluation? The gender balance. So how is the gender balance considered in the evaluation?
So the gender balance is not an evaluation criterion per se, but nevertheless, we encourage to take gender balance into account when setting up the proposals. So, but it's not an evaluation criteria. And the other question was the advantage in the evaluation.
If there is any advantages if more than one topic is addressed.
So you can ask or address more than one topic. So that's not that's fine. But we need, of course, a clearly address to the topics at the end.
Yeah.
And during this, in the submission tool, we have the percentage of which topic is considered with 20% or with 40% or something like this. So in the submission tool, you have to enter the percentage of the addressing. Yeah.
But just to confirm that there is no advantage if you address more than one topic as such. So you can decide if you will address one topic or more.
Yeah. Yes.
It does not bring you any extra points per se. Okay.
But in this case, just also the hint that not all funders fund all topics. So we have funders that exclude topic 2 or topic 3. So please check if your national funding agency fund all topics you are involved or if there are some complications.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Then we have a rather long question about the submission platform, the PT outline submission platform. So I don't know if you can see in the chat, but the question is about the templates that are provided or that are not provided. So it says that there are documents expected to be uploaded without providing templates. So how they are to deal, the applicants are to deal with this. And then the other question is, yeah, about the project description. So there is some information provided in the template example, which is also on the website, and I think also in the call text, but they're asking how to deal with this if there is no template in the actual submission platform. And then how is the work plan expected to be materialized? Do they need to include the Gantt tables or simpler version clearly indicating the time-wise approach? And if there is any indication of how to structure the budget or the financial plan?
Well,
taking over this, at least the first part of the question regarding the template. That's actually true. There is a template that can be downloaded from the website with general structure, with information regarding font size and so on. The project description itself has to be uploaded as a PDF, respecting the advices from the template. And can you, Maya, repeat the second question? I think it's the structuring of the proposal.
Yeah, it's about the structuring of the proposal and how is the work plan to be presented in Gantt charts or in simple version, and if there are any indication or guidelines on how to structure our budget and financial plan.
Yeah, also on the Water4All website, you can download the submission tool guidelines. And it's not necessary to provide it, for example, as a table or a Gantt chart. There are fields in the submission tool where you have to enter your budget for the respective institutions and for the respective things like personnel costs, travel costs, and so on. And that's these instructions are also, I think, provided in the submission system again.
Yeah, I would just maybe add here that it's also the responsibility of the consortium to structure their let's say budget and financial plan, and also their work plan. So there are no strict rules how this needs to be done, and so this is up to you. Basically, you have a limitation on the number of pages, and the documents that Simon mentioned, they mentioned other limitations such as the font and the specification of the text, but it's up to you how you will present this. So there are no direct indications on how to, for example, structure your financial plan. So apart from what Simon just mentioned, so you have sections in the submission tool where you will have to enter, for example, for the budget, you will have to enter the amounts per partner and so on.
If I may add one point, Maya, only the coordinator of the proposal should have or has access to the submission tool. So I'm now talking to the coordinators or to the potential coordinators. Please pay attention when entering the data from, of course, your own institution, but also from the partner institutions, because it's your responsibility as a coordinator to enter this data in the submission system.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next question. We already, I think we addressed something similar, but still, is there a limit of budget for each proposal, or it depends on the national funding organization from the coordinator country? So a limit of budget for each proposal, or it depends on the national organization funding from coordinator country?
On general level, there's no limit of budget, but of course, on national level, there can be limits for each partner.
Yeah. I would just add that it's not the coordinating country that sets the limit. It's each partner's funding organization or country that has a limit for their partner, because as I mentioned in my part of the presentation, in this call, each funding organization mostly from a different country. There are some cases where there are two funding organizations from the same country, but in principle, there is a funding organization from each country will fund their national partner. So if you have a consortium, for example, composed of the UK, Italy, and Brazil, we had this example before. So the UK funding organization will fund their part of the research, their research team. The Italian funder will fund their research team, and the Brazilian one, they will fund their research team. So these levels, the limits, they come from the national regulations of each of the funding organization. But overall, there is no cap for the whole proposal altogether, as Anne said. Thank you very much. Then we have a rather long description of one particular case from a partner from Turkey, and they describe their case and their proposed, let's say, projects and what they're looking for in what they need other partners for. So I would say maybe you could comment a little bit on the partnering tool here, because we do not really answer these kind of questions, but we can suggest where you could look for partners.
Yeah, for such questions, we have a partnering tool, so you can enter such your organization, your name, your expertise in the partnering tool and ask for partners. So that's a really helpful tool to find partners all over the world, I think, with all partners. Yeah, and here you can have the link to the partnering tool. Of course, we also have the link on the website, so you can go to the website of Water4All and click, and then everything is fine. And here you can fill in the file and publish your question or your proposals and something like this. Yes.
Okay. Then we have a question about the average size of the projects that were funded in the past. I can help you out with this one a little bit.
Well, I think we have there is not the perfect number of consortiums. So always also consortia with 3 partners are great, and consortia with 7 partners are great. So there is no average, which is the best number of partners in a proposal. So yeah, between 3 and 7, everything is fine.
Yeah, exactly. Just to mention that in the past calls, even in the previous framework program, because maybe some of you know that before we had the Water JPI initiative and different ARANETs under the Water JP initiatives, and this partnership is in a way a successor in the Horizon Europe framework. So if someone knows these ARANETs or these calls that were launched, maybe this question would be more relative, because there we did not really have this limitation on the number of partners and so on. So, but in the partnership, we had this limit of maximum 7 partners. The minimum has always been the same, is 3. So as Anne said, everything goes. There is no, let's say, formula or, let's say, a good average that could work better than maybe a different composition. So everything within the eligibility rules. Then we have a question about where the applicants can find the eligibility criteria for a specific country. So I don't know if maybe this is not very clear, but yeah.
So we have 2 different kinds of eligibility criteria. So we have the general eligibility criteria with scope and consortium composition and so on, which is stated in the call announcement in chapter 4. So the chapter 4 is named eligibility criteria. And we have on the website under call documents to download the national regulations, so which are the national eligibility criteria. So, and in both documents, you will find the relevant information regarding general eligibility criteria and the national regulations.
Yeah. There is a document called National and Regional Regulations, and there is a section on the website that says documents to download. So
yes, that's correct.
Then we have a question about the Annex B, which has a list of beneficiaries. Are these the only ones that can participate as partners and receive funding?
No, that's not. But as Maya showed you on her first slide, the Water4All partnership is over 90 partners. So these partners are involved in the whole partnership. And as you see, there it is. We have different types. There are not only funders, and that's why we need to avoid a conflict of interest in something like this. So partners who are involved in the Water4All partnership must clarify if they will take part in a call or not. So, and with this list, they accept our internal regulations to join calls or not. So just partners who are involved in the partnership and have an yes, we agree and we will apply to the JTC just partners with a beneficiary may apply to the JTC can be part of the consortium. So it belongs to the partners of the Water4All partnership. But of course, if you are not a partner of Water4All, you have no problem. So everything is really fine. But if you are involved in the Water4All partnership, we have to avoid conflict of interest and something like this. But I know it's a bit confusing to have this list of beneficiaries and yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Anne. Another question regarding the budget, and it says, considering the inflation rates, how the budget can be amended. For example, the prices stipulated in 2024 might not be relevant anymore in 2026.
Yeah, that's correct. But in this case, you have to contact the national contact point. So each country has different inflation rates and something like this, and how to handle something like this. So it's not a generic answer for this question.
I think this is also partially covered by these minor budget changes that are allowed between step 1 and 2. So contact your funder. And but this is in a short period. You might be able to do some adjustment in this short period of time between step 1 and 2 if your proposal is invited. But everything beyond that, it should be discussed with the funding organization. Moving on. Okay. Is there a limitation for the number of partners at the national level?
It also depends on the national regulations or on the funders. So for Germany, we have the maximum of 2 partners, and with 1 partners from the industry, for example. So 1 scientific partner and 1 from the industry. In Germany, we are not able to have 2 scientific partners in the consortium. But of course, we have funders who will fund 3 or 4 partners within 1 country or just 1 partner. So please have a look into the national regulations and contact your NCP. Then you will find the solution for your country.
Yeah. And to add here, there is a general rule that the partners from 1 country should not have more than 50% of all the requested person months. So you need to be careful about the balance here. This also will be considered if you reach the full proposal, so the stage 2, under the evaluation criteria of implementation. So the evaluators will assess the composition of the consortium, if it's balanced or not. So if your national rules allow you to put more partners, be careful about this balance, that you don't put too much weight either on one single partner. Of course, there is also limitation of 50% of the personnel, but also the partners from the same country. And especially in cases where there are 2 funding organizations participating from one country. For example, this is the case of, I think, Finland. They have 2 funding organizations. It's also the case of Spain. So be careful about this balance in the consortium. Moving on, I will read this particular case, even though it's, again, depends on the national regulation, but I think maybe it can be illustrative for everyone. It's an example from Denmark, and the national regulations from Denmark state that the project cannot be more than 500k euro. Does this mean that the whole project cannot ask for more than 500k if there is a Danish partner, but coordination from, for example, from Germany?
No, that just belongs to the Danish partner. So, of course, the Danish partner can ask for a maximum of 500,000 euro. And for Germany, we have other national regulations. So it depends on the national regulation, but not the whole project is limited to 500,000, just the Danish partner.
Yeah, thank you. Another question regarding the early career researchers. Can an early career researcher be a finishing PhD student?
This is a good question.
I don't think so. Huh? It must be obtained, the PhD. So
no, if you're finishing your PhD within the time of preparation, the proposal, everything is fine, because in case because you have to enter the date of your PhD, so you can finish your PhD at the moment. So if you have a defense next week, everything is fine, because the submission date is it's mid of November. But if you finish your PhD in December, it's too late.
Thank you. Perfect.
But it's a good question.
Yeah. What is the difference between step 1 and step 2? And if you could give us draft full proposals.
Yeah, the full proposal is has more content, so you have more space and more possibilities to submit your idea and to give an overview of your idea. So I think to get an overview, you can have a look into the Water4All Call 2023 to see the full proposal template. So as a hint. So you have more space to involve us in your idea, or the experts. So that's the main difference. So you can submit your full proposal and you will have more sites and so on. Yeah, that's the main difference, I think.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Anne, but for example, the templates are available on the website?
The template for the pre-proposal is available on the website, but if you will have a look on the JTC Call 2023, you will find a template which is as an
it's not yet there for step 2. It's not for our call. It's not uploaded yet, but it will be, right? Okay, I thought it was already there.
Step 1 and step 2. So after step 1, we will upload the step 2 proposal.
Mm-hmm. Just perhaps to add here that, of course, not all full pre-proposals will be invited to submit a full proposal. So you need to go through the first round of the, of course, eligibility check and the evaluation from the panel in order to be potentially invited to step 2. So yes.
Exactly. Maybe to add on this one point regarding the evaluation, As you can see here on the right, the pre-proposals are evaluated regarding the criteria excellence and impact. And if you're invited to submit the full proposal will be evaluated by all three criteria, so excellence, impact, and implementation.
Great, thank you very much. There is a question if there will be an additional webinar on how to prepare the application for the Joint Transnational Call.
No, such an additional webinar is not planned.
Then there is a question about the participation of non-EU countries and the eligibility criteria that applies to them. So if they are self-funding the researchers, for example, could a partner from India be eligible if they come in as a partner with their own funding in place?
Yes, this is possible, but of course you have to fit with the minimum eligible partners. So you need 3 partners who are from countries with participating funders. And you can have on top an self-funded partner from India, for example. But at least you need 3 partners from the call.
I think the word eligible in case of self-funding partners is a bit confusing, perhaps because self-funding partners are not eligible because they are self-funded, so they don't need to check their eligibility with their funding organization because there is no funding organization from their country, but they need to be still careful within the consortium to comply with these general rules about the number of partners and so on. Then maybe a question for Miguel Angel. For topic 3, water circularity only marginally appears. However, in the call document, water circularity is extremely stressed. Is it not obvious how to include? It is not obvious how to include water circularity when working on resource circularity. How will this be evaluated?
Yes, you are right that the term water circularity is in many sections of the call and our documents, but this is because this is the Water4All partnership and the main focus is on water, but the partnership is also is extending the view to water systems, and resource recovery is an additional element in the circularity of the water systems. So my recommendation is when relevant, this resource circularity should be compatible with water circularity and the synergies should be explored. So Maya, maybe I can continue with some other comments about the topics.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And there are some questions about the eligibility of the use of water in irrigation, mostly in crop agriculture. Yes, this is a use of water that is not eligible under topics 1, 2, and 3. It applies to both to food crops, but also to other types of crops. My recommendation is that proposals should not focus in the reuse of water in crop agriculture and in the technologies for this type of use. Maybe an exception to this comment is not really about water, but about nutrient recovery. Nutrient recovery is eligible, even though we know that the eventual use of this resource recovered will be agriculture. There is also a comment about the use of water for grass irrigation in the urban areas. Well, I will say check how this is described in the subtopics in the circularity in the urban context, if this is relevant or not. My feeling is that it's not excluded, by check if it fits with the objectives of the call and how the topics are described. For these questions about what is in, what is out of the call, well, the evaluation will be based on the call text, the very same call text that you have available in the call's announcement, and this is the framework that the evaluators will have. So I recommend not go to the limit of interpretation of what is in or what is out. And another comment, not about the topic, but about the TRL level that is acceptable. well, in the call, all tier levels are acceptable in international call, but check with your national funding agency what TRL levels are funded or not in your case.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will go back there. There were some questions about the types of costs that are being eligible, such as equipment purchase, depreciation costs, and similar. So maybe if you could just say about a few words about this.
Yeah, eligible costs depends on the national regulations. The answer for everything. Of course, it depends if you can ask for personal costs or consumables or something like this. It depends on the national regulation. Please check the national regulations and then or contact your national contact point. Yeah.
Great. Then another question about the general eligibility rules for the coordinator. So can one person apply as coordinator in a proposal and as partner in another proposal?
No, that's not possible. So you can just apply as a coordinator and not as a partner in another proposal. But if you're just a partner in a proposal, you can apply for more than one proposal. But as a coordinator, you can only participate in one proposal of this call.
Okay, thank you very much. Then a question, what is meant by 50% person month?
So this means the workload distribution, as you can see here. So no partner shall have more than 50% of person months. So at the end, you will have a table with 3 partners. And if you have 36 months in total, no partner should have 19 months, for example, in this case. Yeah? The maximum for this, in this case, is 18 person months for one partner. But you need at the end a balance between the work between the partners. So it should avoid that one partner do everything and one partner has just 1 person month, the other partner has 37 or 35 person months.
Okay, thank you. And a similar question regarding the structure. Does it need to be the consortium composition? Does it need to be finalized in the first preliminary application, so in the pre-proposal? Does the consortium composition need to be finalized in the pre-proposal?
So no, that's not the case, because Simon, can you go to the slide of changes? So as you can see, no changes of the coordinator are allowed, except in case of force majeure. So in special cases, it is allowed, but just the coordinator can't change between step 1 and step 2. But the number of partners is allowed, so you can remove or replace a partner between step 1 and step 2, or add a partner. So that it's possible, but not for the coordinator in general.
Yeah, but the changes are limited, so also.
Yeah, of course. So maximum 1 change of project partner with proposals with 5 partners or less, so 3 or 4, and 2 changes of project partners with partners more than 5 partners, so 6 or 7.
Yeah. And another question linked to the partners or the consortium composition. There is a comment that the proposal partner platform link is not working. I think it should be.
I think the submission platform is working, so we have already proposals registered in the system. So I think it works. But maybe you can contact us via email so we can check what the problem is.
Yeah. And then there is another, I don't know if this question refers to the submission platform or the networking tool. So there is another platform that enables the search of potential partners. So I don't know if you're referring to this. This platform should also be, this networking tool or partnering tool, as we call it, sorry, not networking, partnering tool should be also active. And correct me if I'm wrong, Anne, there is also a contact email in case there are any
Yes,
technical issues, but it was online when I checked the last time. So if you have
Yeah.
any,
I think at the moment we have around 70 partners who are wrote and text in the partnering tool. So 70 applicants. That's really nice.
yeah, good. Then there's a question about the intellectual property. Who will be the intellectual property owner of the results of the joint call research obtained? Can it be a coordinator if he initiates ideas and solutions to the call's proposal? So,
I didn't match the question. I tried to find it in the
at 1420, who will be the intellectual property owner of the results of the joint call research obtained? Can it be the coordinator if he initiates ideas and solutions to the call proposal?
Yeah, it is a coordinator. It's not property of Water4All. I think. What?
I can perhaps help out here. So if the proposal is funded, selected for funding, in the end, the project consortium will need to prepare their consortium agreement. And the objective of this document, which is internal to the consortium, we will ask it for, because some funding organizations need the information on this. So we will ask you to submit it, but we do not interfere with the consortium, with agreement content. So, and this document exactly is intended to kind of to regulate and to agree on several issues, and on the work plan, on the responsibilities of the partners, and among them on the intellectual property. So you will the awarded proposals will deal with this in their consortium agreement, and it will be checked. Usually, it's checked by the legal departments of all the partners participating in that consortium. Then moving on, there is a question if the presentation and the recording will be available.
Yes.
a very straightforward answer. Could a non-EU country like India be taken as a case study?
Yes, of course, that's possible in a case study. But you have to be aware that India is not part of the consortium has no funder, so you need in this case a self-funded partner in India or other solutions to have the case study in India. But yeah, it's possible.
Okay, Miguel Angel, I think I don't remember now if you answered this regarding the urban irrigation. Can urban irrigation non-eligible plants like grass? I think there is a typo.
Yes.
Can be covered. I think you mentioned this before, right?
Yeah, so I mentioned this.
Is it covered? Yeah, sorry. I'm reading the questions and trying to answer them at the same time, so sometimes I skip some. Is there any rule of thumb on how many projects are supposed to be funded?
We try to fund many projects as possible. We use the EU top up and everything, but I think there's no, you cannot say how many projects we will fund at the end. It depends on the ranking list, on different criteria, but we try to fund, or we fund the most projects we can.
Yeah. You can also check on the website we have the results of the first call published, and very soon we will have the results of the second call published. So you can get the idea from these two calls, but there is no rule. So things can change. As Anne said, it depends a lot on the financial availability. And related to this, I remember there was a question before already regarding the ranking. So let's say if we have 5 projects ranked, but there is only money for 3. So what happens? If you could just explain a little bit the ranking again, how it works and the financial pressures.
So of course we try to avoid an oversubscription of a country that we and of course we have the EU top up to fill the gap between projects and countries and something like this. So of course we can't fund every project, that's not possible, but we use the EU top up to fund the most project as possible. And it's a difficult calculation, but we manage it all the years, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Regarding the indirect costs, can they be requested for funding?
It's a question of national regulations, so please check your national regulations.
Then we have again a question for Miguel Angel. It is written on the call document that the use of water in agriculture, this is a little bit repeating, I think, what you already commented before, that the use of water in agriculture under topics 1, 2, and 3 are not within the scope of the call. How about using effluents from agricultural practices for enhancement of water circularity, but not used for crop irrigation?
But this is an approach seen the other way around, the use of effluents for agricultural practice in other environments. Well, this makes a sound proposal. For me, it should be okay. What is excluded is the use of water in crop agriculture.
Okay, thank you. Then another question regarding the funding. Are projects fully funded, or is match required from the project partners?
So the funding rate depends on the national regulations. So in Germany, we have differences between, for example, for universities. Universities can ask for 100%, companies can ask for 70%, for example. So please check your national regulations to answer this question in your case. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then again, we have some questions regarding the budget for industrial partners. I think this has been answered. You need to contact your funder for these kind of questions. So because it really depends from one funding organization to another. Then another question, I think it was not clear, at least 2 partners must be from outside EU members. So Anne already explained it, I think, very clearly before. So no, at least there is no rule that the 2 partners must be from outside of the EU members. So I don't know if you could just show the slide.
Yeah, at least we need 2 partners from different EU member states or associated countries. So
yeah, and just to add, if you have questions about your particular consortium composition, it's not clear to you, just write to the call secretariat about this and they can confirm it, because there are many different combinations. So we will not now check all of these combinations now in chat, but you can get in touch with the call secretariat for this kind of particular cases. Okay, then is it possible to have 2 or more partners from the same country, provided that the consortia fulfills all the eligibility criteria?
In general, yes, it is possible, but please check your national regulation if your funding agency have any restriction regarding the number of partners in the same country.
Okay.
And yes, Germany is allowed to ask for budget. I saw the next question. So, yeah. So Germany is part of the call, or can be German partners can request for funds.
Okay. Would the national offices recommend for some country applicants to join forces following the pre-proposal stage? For example, if there is overlap in topics?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Would the national offices or national funding organizations recommend for some country applicants to join forces following the pre-proposal stage, for example, if there is overlap in topics?
I think we have no recommendation in this case. So that's so no, we have no national recommendations in this case, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Then we have a question for Miguel Angel. Any development of technology for water monitoring, reclamation of nutrients, valorization of water that is finally intended to apply the reused water in the agricultural sector is not allowed in this call? So this is a question.
Yes, I commented on this. If the use of water is in crop agriculture, it's not eligible. But as I said, there's an exception to these uses in agriculture, which is the use of nutrients recovered in agriculture, because the primary use of nutrients recovered should be agriculture. Not water, but yes, for nutrients.
Okay. Will proposals where regenerated industrial effluents are used for agriculture irrigation not be funded? So continuing with questions for you.
Well, I think this is again the same question. That the uses, if the final use is water for crop irrigation, is not eligible.
Yeah. Then we have again, this was already explained, but perhaps just to highlight it again. Does a proposal have to address all sub-themes of a call theme?
No, a proposal must address at least one topic and not all topics, so at least one. Of course, you can have cross-cutting proposals, but at least you have to address one topic.
Mm-hmm. Then a question regarding the organization of the research work in the consortium. So do the participants work separately in each field and then assemble the research results as a puzzle, or do they work all together on the topic, offering each its vision as a solution? So either Anne or Miguel Angel, perhaps. I think this falls into the category about the expectations.
You are muted.
Sorry, Maya, I was also checking the chat. What question was that? Sorry.
At 1429, how is the research work in the consortium, or how should it be organized? For example, the participants work separately in each field and then assemble the research results as a puzzle, or do they work all together on the topic, offering each its vision as a solution?
Well, this is a difficult answer. It's a difficult question. The quality of the proposal would depend on how well these teams are interlinked. And so I think I don't have a question to this without taking out the proposal, and it's not our role. So be sure that if you have different teams in all the consortia, there is a flow of communication, flow of results, a good cooperation among the groups, and they don't work separately. And if you need different groups because they work in different disciplines, we have some recommendations about multi and interdisciplinarity and how to incorporate it in your proposals.
I would just perhaps add here that the collaboration dimension is important. So the projects that we fund, they're not just like a sum of different individual projects or work packages or tasks that are performed each from one research team. So these are collaborative projects, and I think this collaborative dimension and the transnational added value of the consortium, it must be highlighted. So it's, I don't know if I'm understanding well the question, I think, but it's not just a sum of separate work from each research team. Then again, going back to the early career researchers modality, and there's a question of whether the about the evaluation. So will the evaluation be done for both the early career researchers and joint transnational call proposals, if they will be evaluated together in the same category, or will they be evaluated separately? And so then, okay, yeah, maybe you can answer this and then I will continue.
Yeah, we have one ranking list, so it's not separated, it's the same ranking list, but in case of equal ranking, FPOs prioritize the project submitted under the ECR modality. Yeah.
Okay. And what is the benefit of the early career researchers for the consortium of the proposal?
So first of all, I think to be an early researcher, it's always good for you. And the benefit is that in case of equal ranking, to prioritize the project submitted under the ECR modality will be selected first. Yeah, that's a huge benefit.
Yeah. Can an early career researcher as coordinator ask for his own salary in this call?
Yeah, because of your national regulations, you can ask for, but you have to check if your FPO is involved in the early career researchers. So not every funder is involved in this modality. Yeah. So if the FPO is involved, then you can ask for, yes.
Okay. Then there is a question about the organizations that are Water4All partners. So Water4All beneficiaries. And there is a case for CSIC in Spain, CNR in France, CNR in Italy. If there is any limitation with regard to the participation of these partners in the...
Yeah, we have in the general call announcement a limitation regarding how many people or how many partners from Water4All beneficiaries can join a consortium. Let's have a look. I think we have not that written on a slide, but it's written in the call announcement. So the consortium composition, it's written, yeah, for proposals involving up to 5 partners, maximum 2 entities that are also involved in the Water4All partnership may participate in the same proposal. Larger proposals may involve up to 3 entities that are involved in the Water4All partnership. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's written in the call announcement on in chapter 4.
Yeah, thank you. The general eligibility rules. Then a question about what is the minimum level of stakeholder investment or engagement that is expected in a project?
So we have no advice or minimum level of stakeholder investment, I think.
Yes, we don't have indicators for this. What we expect is that this involvement is credible and really has an impact in how the outcomes will be taken by these stakeholders.
Thank you very much. Then another question about the consortium composition and partners from the same country. So are different, let's say, universities or institutions from the same country considered as distinct partners, or are they considered as the same partner because they come from the same country?
No, you are not, so not the country is partner of the consortium, the legal entity is the partner of the consortium. So if you have if you have two universities in the same country, you will have two partners from the same country. So it depends on the legal entity.
Okay, thank you very much. Then I will skip some questions regarding the examples from the composition of the consortium, because we will run out of time. So, for example, there are questions regarding the collaborations from, let's say, USA, India, Kenya, non-EU countries, and so on. So we will include these questions in the frequently asked questions, because otherwise we will run out of time, because there are many, let's say, examples or cases that we can now address. So please check the document when it's online, or get in touch with the call secretariat for these very concrete questions. Okay. Okay, this might be interesting just for the sake of the terminology. Is there a difference between the coordinator and principal investigator in the case of early career researcher?
So the PI is the coordinator. So there is not a huge difference between. So the coordinator is the principal investigator of the partner in all the consortium.
Yeah. So, and I don't know if this question also goes in the direction of if the coordinator, the eligibility rules are different than those for the PIs and the. So I think this is what Simon showed in the slide. So the coordinator must be eligible under this criteria, and the other principal investigators, so the partners, they do not need to be supported under the early career researcher modality. So it's only the criterion for the coordinator. So I don't know if we managed to answer your question, but we will clarify it in the frequently asked questions. So when a proposal is selected for funding, each partner must apply for national calls to get the funds. If you could just perhaps say a few words about the granting procedures in general when.
So, yeah, we will have the selection, and we will recommend proposals for funding on international level or in Water4All level. And of course, in some countries, you have to submit a national application. So in Germany, after step 2, and we have projects recommended for funding, we will have a national application step. So, and we check the national application on national level. But of course, there are some countries which has not the same procedure. So the procedure depends on the funding agencies.
Yeah, in general, after the funding decision is taken, the funding organizations will get in touch with their successful applicants. And I think most countries will have this national call that funds their own part, but it's not a strict rule. So as I said, there may be some exceptions, but for those that will be selected for funding, the funding organizations will contact you, so you don't need to worry about this. Then another question, if there is a fixed number of proposals that will reach the second stage, or can all well enough graded proposal enter the second stage, so the full proposal? So maybe just a few words about this.
No, we don't have a fixed number, so it depends on the threshold and on the proposal submitted. So it depends, at the end, it depends on the ranking list and the budget, but there's no fixed number.
Okay. Then we have a question concerning the theme of the call. Should we refer specifically to the topics in section 2.2 of the call announcement? or should we refer to the themes in the strategic agenda? Maybe Miguel, if you could answer this one.
Yes, for the proposals, please refer to the topics in the call announcement. But what we encourage is to also check the strategic agenda to know more about the framework and how these topics are conceived within the Water4All partnership.
Okay. Again, perhaps a question for you, Miguel. Even though agriculture irrigation is not a topic, could the water demand, including irrigation, being considered as a motivation in the proposal?
Yes, my view is that this is eligible under topic 4.
Okay. Is it possible to refer to the topic of circularity of water in the fashion industry?
Yes, industrial uses are eligible for the call. So circularity in any industrial sector is eligible. One of the expectations of the call is also have interlinkages and have connection between different industrial stakeholders, that a proposal restricted to one single industrial sector could be okay.
Yeah, thank you. I see that you already answered some of these questions in the chat. So also regarding the water quality monitoring. So maybe we don't have to, we will summarize this in the frequently asked questions. Thank you for already addressing these questions in the chat. We are approaching the end, so maybe we can take 2 or 3 more questions, and then because I think that there are many that were kind of repeated, and I'm really sorry if we skipped some, but again, everything will be resumed in the frequently asked questions document. Okay, maybe this question is interesting. Will the coordinator's curriculum specifically for early career researchers be evaluated to potentially award extra points to the proposal, or is it sufficient for them to simply meet the eligibility criteria as part of a basic evaluation?
I think the CV will not get some extra points on the proposal. So we have the criteria for evaluation, which is impact, implementation, and so on. And the CV is necessary for the ECR modality regarding the date of the defense and when you received your PhD, but you will not have some extra points. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm checking if there is another question, perhaps that is kind of hasn't been addressed yet.
I think there were some questions regarding the TRL, the technology readiness level. I think so. We have no restrictions to the TRL, and the proposals should clearly address the general core level, and nevertheless, some funding agencies have maybe some TRL restrictions, but on general or on Water4All level, we have no TRL restrictions.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think we will take the last question, and this one is about, again, about the budget, but is there a minimum budget allowed? So not the maximum, but the minimum.
So on Water4All level, I said the general level, we have no minimum budget, but of course some funders will have some minimum budget. So because sometimes it's they say you have to ask for a minimum of 100,000 euro or something like this, but it's only on the national level, not on the general level.
Yeah, thank you very much. I can just add here that one particular case, I don't know if there are not many cases, I think, in the national guidelines, but one particular case is the CDTI from Spain. So CDTI from Spain has the minimum established. So I don't know if it applies to the person who has this question, but yeah, check the national regulations. So we are now running out of time here. So thank you very much for your participation and for all your questions. I will give the floor, I think, to Simon, just if you want to say something on behalf of the call secretariat, and if you want to close this webinar or say some final words.
Yeah, thank you, Maya. Yeah, just very quickly. So thanks to all of you. Maya already said, thanks for your interest in the Water4All partnership, in the call, and for your participation in today's webinar. Yeah, we hope that the webinar was informative for you. As mentioned several times before, please check the website regularly regarding possible updates on the commitments and national regulations. The case of Portugal was mentioned several times. And if there are additional questions, of course, get in touch with us, with the call secretariat, or with your national contact points. And yeah, no further things to say. We're very much looking forward to your applications. Thanks again to all of you for the participation. Special thanks to you, Maya, to you, Miguel, and also to our colleagues from ANR in France for the organization of this webinar. And I wish you a nice afternoon. Thank you.